The shocking truth about the 12 disciples, revealed at 3 a.m. like never before. The clock struck 3, the witching hour, when shadows danced and whispers crept through the dark. The very air crackled with a sense of dread. What could possibly unravel in these sinister minutes? The truth about the 12 disciples was about to blow the lid off your beliefs, sending shivers down your spine. Each man chosen for greatness harbored their own skeleton, buried deep in the past. Were they truly the saints we've always believed in, or were they something far more sinister? The first strange element emerged in the flickering light of an old, dusty church. Rumors swirled that each disciple held a piece of a darker prophecy. Peter, the rock, wasn't he just a fisher of men? Legends claimed he had a secret, a hidden message written in blood. His eyes, once blue like the ocean, were said to glow ominously under the moonlight. And then there was Judas, the traitor whose kiss ignited a firestorm. But what if his betrayal wasn't the end? Some whispered of his return, a haunting specter destined to walk the earth again. The people of Jerusalem were whispering, in hushed tones, eyes darting nervously as if the shadows themselves were listening. A shudder slithered down the spine of each passerby, sending gasps of disbelief through the crowd. Did the disciples' actions echo through time, pinging off the history that shaped their fate? They say on the nights of a full moon, you can hear their voices calling out, begging for redemption, or warning of vengeance. Can you feel the weight of their regrets? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As night wrapped its icy fingers around Jerusalem, an unsettling revelation crept into the minds of those who dared to listen. Could it be that the disciples were more than mere followers? What if their destinies were entangled with the shadows of betrayal and blood? The winds picked up, howling through the streets, carrying the weight of unspoken truths. Were they just legends, or did the spirits of the past linger on, hungry for freedom from the chains of time? As the clock neared 4, the suspense built, leaving everyone with one burning question: what will be revealed next? As the final chime of the clock echoed, the atmosphere thickened, almost electric with anticipation. A heavy fog rolled in, veiling the streets of Jerusalem in obscurity, as if the very city itself was guarding its darkest secrets. It was then that an eerie figure emerged from the haze. Cloaked in shadow, he moved purposefully, eyes glinting in the dim light, revealing a truth so harrowing it could shatter the beliefs of the most devout: that he was the keeper of secrets, a mysterious figure thought to be nothing more than myth. Locals had long warned children to stay away, claiming he held the keys to sacred knowledge, knowledge best left undiscovered. No one knew how he could commune with the spirits. Could he truly summon the disciples from their ancient graves? Whispers of power swirled amongst the curious. A crowd gathered, drawn in by an unseen force. They gaped as he stepped into the light, revealing a weathered face, marked by time yet filled with an unsettling intensity. "You wish to know the truth," he intoned, his voice gravelly yet melodic, penetrating the frozen silence. Murmurs rippled through the crowd like electricity. What might he unveil? The weight of history began to press against them, the air thick with anticipation. "It is time to unravel the fabric of their sins," he continued, gesturing toward the ancient stones of the church that stood sentinel nearby. "For they are not merely disciples, they were bound by a curse, one that feeds on betrayal and thrives in the darkness." People exchanged glances. Could this man reveal what lay beyond the twists of faith? What did he know of Peter's hidden blood? What if the rumors of Judas's ghost were more than just tales spun from fear? A chilling breeze swept through, carrying the scent of decay and regret, awakening something ancient in the hearts of the onlookers. "Each disciple bears a mark, a stain of their choices," the keeper continued, his voice now a whisper that danced with the wind. "Peter, he said, locking eyes with a woman standing in the front, was bound by his denial, shackled to a remorse that bleeds eternally. His cry it echoes still. And Judas? His kiss was not mere treachery, it was a sacrifice. He is destined to return, haunting the living, their guilt feeding his restless spirit. Gasps erupted, confusion mixing with curiosity. What could possibly lie behind this strange prophecy? Had they unknowingly been living with these curses hanging over them, rooted in their faith? Suddenly, an anguished scream sliced through the night, fracturing the crowd's focus. A young man fell to his knees, clutching his head as if the weight of the world crushed him. "I can hear them," he cried, his voice choked with terror. "They're whispers. They want out." The electrifying energy of the moment surged, pulling people closer together. Fists tightened, breaths quickened. Were they truly in the presence of the past? Was it possible the disciples were pleading not just for redemption, but for revenge? The keeper's eyes shined with an unearthly light. The truth must be embraced, for it is through facing the darkness that salvation is found. Will you join me to awaken the slumbering souls? For every soul in attendance, their hearts raced with a simmering question: what horrifying truth must be confronted? And what price would they pay for knowledge no mortal should wield? As the faded moon rose higher, they stood at the precipice of revelation, unaware that the horror of what lay ahead would shake them to their very core. But one thing was for sure: next, they would have to decide who among them dared to join the keeper on this perilous quest into the depths of betrayal and beyond. Would they unearth the real consequences of the disciples' legacy, or would they risk becoming them? The crowd shifted restlessly, the tension crackling in the air like static before a storm. What decision loomed before them felt monumental, a choice that might change everything they thought they knew. Eyes darted among the onlookers, scanning faces for signs of courage, or fear. The young man still knelt, trembling as the whispers slithered in and out of his consciousness. "They want to be free, but it means we have to pay." His voice trembled, each word hanging heavy in the damp air. "Pay?" someone near the back shouted, disbelief tinging their tone. "What do you mean, pay?" The keeper raised a hand, silencing the question. He fixed the crowd with a piercing gaze that seemed to reach deep into their very souls. "To release the disciples from their bonds, you must confront every dark deed tied to their legacy. What would you sacrifice to uncover the truth? Your morals? Your peace? Perhaps, your sanity?" A chill descended as murmurs ran through the crowd. A woman, fear etched across her face but fire in her eyes, stepped forward. "I'll do it. I want to know. I need to understand why these ghosts haunt us." The keeper's lips curled into a knowing smile. Brave, yet recklessly naive. "Very well." He extended a gnarled hand toward her, beckoning her to join him. "But understand, once you step into the dark, there is no turning back. You must embrace the truth, even if it breaks you." Others shifted uneasily, their breaths quickening. The woman trembled but nodded, determination set against the looming shadows. "She's brave," a man next to her blurted, "but what if she finds something she won't like? What if we can't help her?" Anxiety wove through his words, sparking a ripple of concern. Panic flared, cascading across faces, as doubt infiltrated their gathering. "You may not be able to help," the keeper said, voice low and commanding, "but you may learn. Everyone must choose their path. Unravel the web of betrayal, and you will see every choice laid bare." He gestured to the ancient church behind him, its stones steeped in history and hidden sins. "You can begin there. But when the disciples rise, you will confront not just them, but yourselves. Are you willing to unearth your darkest truths?" As he spoke, flashes of memories danced in the minds of the crowd, betrayals, lost loves, moments that might weigh even heavier than the promise of redemption. The doubt turned into anguish, flickering embers of shared pain igniting. They were no longer just spectators, they were participants in a perilous game of fate. Some shifted back, drawn by instinct. Others, emboldened by the possibility of unveiling forgotten truths, took a step forward. The woman grasped the keeper's hand, anchoring herself to his promise. "I'll face whatever comes," she said, voice steadied with resolve. The crowd gasped at her courage, yet an unsettling reality settled deep within them. Was she truly ready to face the disciples? Would she find answers or awaken a fury they had all long held at bay? A guttural moan echoed from the church, breaking the night's unease. It sounded like a plea, a song of lost souls crying for freedom. "Then the time has come," the keeper declared, standing tall, almost regal. "Let the awakening begin." The air shifted again, shadows stretched, darkness coiling like a serpent around the crowd. The night trembled with whispers and long-buried regrets. Would they all follow her into oblivion, or would fear drive them back into their shells, leaving the weight of history in the shadowy corners of the past? As the first footstep echoed toward the church's threshold, a chilling thought emerged: what if some secrets are better left undiscovered? In the depths of betrayal, would they find salvation, or merely another curse? The moon hung heavy above, casting eerie shadows. And with each heartbeat, the thread of fate tightened around them, unraveling the question that now loomed over them all. What would be the cost when they dared to awaken the disciples? The woman stepped forward, heart pounding. The stone steps of the church loomed before her like the jaws of a great beast. She could feel the eyes of the crowd burning into her back, heavy with a mix of fear, hope, and uncertainty. With a deep breath, she stepped into the darkness, leaving the safety of the world behind. Inside, the air was thick and stale, pressing down on her. Dust motes hung in the pale moonlight filtering through the cracked stained glass. Shadows danced across the walls, every flicker a potential specter waiting to ambush her. An unsettling hush enveloped her, and each breath sounded like thunder in the stillness. The keeper stepped in behind her, his form looming, the flickering light highlighting the deep lines on his face. "Remember why you are here," he whispered, each word hanging like smoke in the air. "Your truth lies within these walls. You must embrace what you find, even if it shatters everything." A shiver ran down her spine as she moved deeper into the church, her determination flickering like the single candle in her hand. Rumors of the disciples, the lost souls who once walked this land, buzzed around her mind. They were known to have kept dark secrets, but to know them was to invite chaos. As she reached the altar, her heart raced. This was where they had gathered, where it all began. The wooden surface was scarred, stained with dark marks that could have easily been blood. She almost turned away, her instinct screaming to flee. But the thought of those restless spirits, trapped in a cycle of suffering, pushed her forward. "Show me," she whispered fiercely, almost a prayer. In response, the shadows thickened, swirling with life. Forms twisted, a chorus of anguished voices rose in protest. She stumbled backward, clenching her fist over her mouth to stifle a scream. Images flooded her mind: betrayal, passion, madness. She saw the disciples, believed to be protectors, instead reveling in the darkness they had conjured. "Not all that glitters is gold," a voice echoed, sharp like ice, piercing through the anguish. It was the voice of a man she recognized, a friend lost to the shadows, twisted now, soul-stained. "We were deceived, and so shall you be." "Stop," she cried, her voice trembling with fear and defiance. "I want the truth." The shadows swelled, collapsing into a form, a figure draped in tattered robes. "To reveal the truth," the specter rasped, "is to tear open the wounds of your past. Are you prepared to bear that weight?" A moment of silence hung in the air, thick and oppressive. She felt the weight of the crowd outside, holding their breaths, waiting for her answer, but all she could think about was what lay behind the veil of their history, the betrayals etched permanently in the fabric of the night. With trembling hands, she reached into the air, grasping for the light within the darkness. "I will bear it," she declared, her voice rising above the cacophony. "Whatever it is, I will face it." Suddenly, a gust of wind howled through the church, twisting her words into a banshee-esque wail. The figures erupted into chaos, screams echoing, twisting into madness. The shadows lunged at her, clawing, dragging her deeper into their realm. Just as the darkness threatened to consume her entirely, she caught a glimpse of the truth, a single, radiant light pulsing rhythmically, beckoning her. Was she ready to grab hold of that light? Would she uncover the answers, or would they send her tumbling into despair? As her fingers reached toward the light, she felt the Keeper's presence stand strong behind her. Choose wisely. What you find here may change everything you hold dear. In that moment, she realized this was about more than just the disciples, it was about every choice she had both made and avoided in her life. The weight of history was immense, and the truth was more than she could bear. The pulsing light flickered, and as she steadied herself, she could feel the fabric of reality shift. What was on the other side? Would her discovery heal the pain, or would it unravel her along with the secrets of the disciples? The air hummed with tension, and the shadows watched in silent anticipation. The storm had just begun to brew, and it was only a matter of time before the truth would break free. What horrifying revelations awaited her? The pulsing light intensified, illuminating the cryptic symbols carved into the altar. Each glyph seemed to breathe, exhaling ancient whispers. With a fierce resolve, she lunged toward the glow, fingertips inching closer to the warmth. It felt like power, a gateway to understanding the dark labyrinth of the disciples. As her fingers brushed against the light, the world around her shattered into a kaleidoscope of visions. Her surroundings morphed, and she found herself standing in a vast room that echoed with secrets. The walls pulsated with energy, like a heartbeat, vibrant yet chilling. Before her appeared the disciples, their faces taut with emotions she couldn't quite place: fear, a desperate longing. They encircled her, their eyes aflame with both recognition and warning. "You tread on dangerous ground," murmured one, his voice grainy and hollow. "We sought to guard the truth, but the truth guards no one." She searched their eyes, drawn in by familiar features: friends, family, shadows of her past. Memories flooded back, laughter shared, promises made. It twisted inside her, a knife to her heart. "What happened?" she demanded, urgency spilling over her words. "What broke you? Why were you swallowed by darkness?" The disciples remained still, the air dense with neglect and regret. Suddenly, a figure broke the silence, stepping forward with a fractured grin. "You think you seek the truth? The truth seeks you, too," they hissed, their voice serpentine. "We were chosen to uphold a legacy, but we became shackled to our own failures." Crimson threads suddenly snaked around her, binding her to this tapestry of betrayal. The light dimmed, and darkness seeped into her thoughts, whispering accusations of her own past: a decision to abandon hope, a choice to play it safe. "No," she gasped, fighting against the tight grip. "I am not like you. I came here to find what?" Another disciple's voice echoed, somber yet laced with desperation. "Redemption? Forgiveness? Those are light illusions, easily shattered. The truth carries weight, child. You must decide what to do with it." She swayed, the shadows around increasing in intensity, igniting the room with a wicked glow. They twisted into her mistakes, each choice seeming a blade. "The cost is high," the gentle voice of the Keeper warned, reverberating in the chaos. "You may free us, but you may condemn yourself." The disciples' features warped into grotesque landscapes as they begged her to listen. "It is within you, the power to break the cycle," said the familiar face, a friend from years ago. "Embrace the truth, but be wary. Some truths are better left unspoken." The words rattled her core. She could feel it, a gravity pulling at her. With each heartbeat, a choice loomed closer. Did she embrace the truth of the disciples, with all its darkness? Or would she turn away, hoping to retain her ignorance? In a moment of resolve, she pulled back against the shadows, rising to her feet. She had to know, to uncover the truth for not only the disciples but for herself. "I will break the cycle," she shouted. The darkness hissed, recoiling as if stricken, but just as she felt a surge of power, the radiant light flickered violently. But at what cost? It echoed, shaking the ground beneath her. the pain in her chest rising to a dangerous crescendo. Before she could brace herself, the room erupted in unconscious energy, swirling around her in a tempest of chaos. She gasped, every ounce of strength pouring into pushing the darkness away, but it was unrelenting. The truth loomed above, ready to cascade like a tidal wave. What unbearable price would she pay for enlightenment? As the darkness closed in, she barely heard the Keeper's final warning, heavy with the weight of things to come. What would she lose in pursuit of the truth? And if she found it, would it free her or shackle her to an even deeper despair? The swirl of energy felt like a storm inside her. She barely registered the words of the Keeper now, as everything around her spiraled, pulse quickening, heart racing. Dread wrapped itself around her like a constrictor. Each second felt expansive, stretching her understanding to its limits, her feet pressed against a shifting floor. Was it solid? Or an ephemeral shadow of reality? She instinctively stumbled back, swirling shadows reaching for her like grasping hands. She couldn't stay here forever, bound in a web of haunted visages. Listen. The gut-wrenching voice of a disciple pierced through the noise. You must confront the darkness. It is part of you. Shouting echoed back from the walls, amplifying her fear. Who was she really? The essence of self wavered like a mirage. Panic clawed at her throat. Could she truly confront what lay hidden beneath? In a moment of reckoning, she pressed her palms to her temples. I am not afraid of the darkness. I refuse to be defined by failures or by choices I didn't make. The shadows pulsed in response, and a hush fell over the figures. Time snapped like a rubber band. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. They glistened, reflecting not just her defiance but also a spark of truth. For a heartbeat, the disciples seemed to stiffen, uncertainty flickering in the spaces of their spectral forms. She felt it, the power rising within her like a volcano on the verge of eruption. It filled her with warmth but hurt deeply too, like the jagged edge of a glass shard. Was it the energy of the truth? Or something more insidious? Your strength will be your savior or your doom, a disciple spoke again, their voice thick like smoke. You must learn to wield it wisely. Why do you keep circling around the truth? She demanded, anger flaring inside her. If we are bound together, then tell me how to free you, how to free myself. With that, light surged. Her heart raced as she felt brave enough to face it. Each pulse sent warmth through her veins, solidifying her decision. The disciples' eyes glimmered. Was there hope budding in their despair? Then confront what you know, hissed the figure who had spoken first, stepping closer. You have locked fragments of your own truth away. You'll have to access the pieces of your past. Shadows danced wildly in the background, whipping about her shoulders, longing to drag her back down into darkness. Memories clawed at her mind, unearthing moments she had buried deep. A childhood mistake, a friendship shattered. What had she lost to the shadows? Do it. The voices cried out again, now intertwining. Do it for us. For yourself. Steeling herself, she felt a jolt. It hurt so much. But she pressed on, digging deeper within. Muffled cries echoed as the darkness twisted, trying to drown her out, but she wouldn't be silenced any longer. Show me. She screamed, feeling the thought of her regrets crash against her like waves. Let me see. A sudden dread grip surged through her as clarity beckoned like a siren. What if she unearthed something too grave to bear? Something that would shatter her notion of self forever? The vision seeped through as opacity dispersed. Faces began to materialize from the dark haze. They were unfamiliar yet achingly familiar, faces of lost loves and fractured friendships. The light throbbed, brightening, illuminating the truths she had withheld. Questions buzzed through her as the faces began to merge. Those were the pieces she had to confront, the crux of her fear and pain. But at that moment, just when the echoes seemed to whisper a chilling final truth, a shadow lunged. Seize the moment or fall to oblivion again. Was the truth worth the gamble? Did she have the strength to face the multitude of selves she had suppressed? The stakes rose higher. She braced for impact, caught between the darkness closing in and the light begging her to dive deeper. What would she expose about herself in this harrowing moment, and what awaited her on the other side? The moment stretched, taut and electrifying. As the shadow lunged, she felt time slow, her breath hitching in her throat. Every ounce of tension twisted in her gut. This was it, the collision of light and darkness. Would she emerge as her true self or dissolve into the abyss? With a shout that echoed through the dark chamber, she hurled herself into the approaching shadow. The two collided like storm clouds clashing, an explosion of energy bursting around her. Confusion reigned supreme as the light and dark twisted and turned, each desperately vying for dominance. "What have you done?" She heard a voice wail, but it wasn't clear where it originated. Was it the shadow? A disciple? Or perhaps her own conscience? Flashes of past memories cascaded before her. Those agonizing moments of regret danced like ghosts, haunting and persistent. She saw herself at 10 years old defending a friend, caught in a lie that spiraled out of control. She felt the searing pain of betrayal all over again. "Face me!" she cried, the words firing from her chest like arrows. The memories flickered, each one grasping at her, tugging her back into the darkness from which they festered. "Do not resist." The figures around her voiced in unison, their tones rising to a fever pitch. "You must accept what you've long abandoned." The air grew heavy. A hollow ache formed in her chest as she grasped the truth, owned it before the echoes could claim it. Weren't they just shadows of fear? Those faces. There was strength in embracing every fragmented part of herself, even if it hurt. "I see you," she yelled, reclaiming her voice. "I feel you." With those words, an explosion of light erupted, blasting outward, scattering the shadows like autumn leaves caught in a gust. The darkness recoiled as she pressed deeper, unearthing the heaviness that had clung to her for so long. "Remember the love you lost?" a voice whispered, soft yet cutting. "What will you do to find it again?" She felt the knot tighten, a surge of grief engulfing her. A lost love, a friend whose laughter still echoed in her soul. The warmth of their bond was a solace amidst the chaos. She stumbled on the truth again, healing required strength she believed she lacked. "Find your way back," echoed another disciple, urgency lacing their tone. "Face the root to release the branches." Light enveloped her in a cocoon, flickering between memories, the joy, the heartbreak, the unyielding weight of absence. It was suffocating yet exhilarating. As the light pulsed stronger, she pressed forward. "I won't let you consume me," she declared, rejecting the darkness that sought to drown her. In a shattering moment, hands warm and alive emerged from the light, reaching towards her. Could it be? Her heart raced dangerously as she recognized the one who had once stood by her side. "Take my hand," a familiar voice beckoned, softer than a whisper yet rich with promise. "Together we can mend the fractures." But doubt crept into her mind. What if she held on to this hope only to find it slipping away again? "Please," she murmured, her breath coming in shaky gasps. "Guide me." The warmth surrounded her like a shield. Grabbing the offered hand felt like catching fireflies in the dark, momentary, yet profoundly illuminating. As the figures of her past gathered around her, they fused with the shadow to create something breathtaking, a vibrant tapestry of her being. But just when she felt equilibrium sway, a new tremor rippled through the chamber, an ominous laugh, echoing through the air. "Do you really think you're free?" "This is only the beginning," it taunted, slicing through her moment of clarity. Suspicion lanced through her. What awaited her past the light? Was freedom just an illusion she had woven for herself? With resolve anew, she prepared to keep fighting against the darkness, and against herself. Special revelations swirled in the ether, waiting to be unearthed. What shocking truths lay in the shadows yet untold? And who was she destined to become in the aftermath? The laughter echoed again, wrapping around her like a tight noose, feeding on her fading confidence. She felt the warmth slip slightly, the light dimming as if the very essence of her resolve was being challenged. Is this truly where you believe you belong? The ominous voice asked, taunting her. It felt like cold water splashing over an open flame, threatening to extinguish her resolve. Did you think it would be so easy to free yourself from the pain that defines you? Panic surged in her chest as the shadowy figures closed in. Memories melded, alive with vibrant pain. She saw herself standing by the grave of her lost friend, despair drowning her like a tidal wave. The bitterness clenched tighter inside her, fear mixed with rage and loss. I won't let you manipulate me any longer. She shouted defiantly, fighting the tendrils that were creeping toward her heart. Suddenly, the air shifted, vibrating with intensity. A luminescent figure stepped forward from the light, its contours shimmering with hope. It bore a crown of luminescent blooms, vines of energy flowing from its core, and for the first time, she felt a tug toward something greater than herself, toward purpose. Believe in your power, the figure spoke, its voice melodic yet firm. You are not just a collection of shadows. You hold the light too. Embrace it. Her heartbeat quickened. She was not just fighting against the darkness, she was also fighting for the light, for the love she had lost and the future that might still be. As her conviction blossomed, light intensified, infusing her with strength. Together, we can break these chains. The figure urged. United, they expanded, the light flooding the chamber like a dawn breaking after a night of despair, but as brightness surged, obscurity regrouped. Shadows writhed, bulking up in a corner, their forms dark and twisted. Foolish girl. The devious voice sneered. You think you can simply overcome me? You are sewn into the fabric of these shadows, strands of regret woven into your very being. Not anymore. She growled, her anger igniting her spirit. She reached deep within, recalling every precious memory, each laugh, every moment of joy with her friend. It gave her the energy to push forward. The light sparked around her fiercely, dazzling like fireworks against the murky gloom. Cast them out. The luminescent figure cheered, and she felt the warmth of its presence radiate through her. The shadows recoiled as she surged forth, hands outstretched, pulling the light around her like armor. You do not control me. She shouted. The light wrapped around her, forming a blistering bubble of purity. And then, suddenly, inertia. The darkness bore down on her, relentless and heavy. She could barely breathe. The shadows hissed, swirling around the luminescent figure, attempting to engulf them both. You can't fight what is inherently yours, they whispered, their syllables oozing doubt. The radiant figure glanced back at her, brimming with confidence. Remember your strength. You reshape your identity. Fight. Each breath she took began to resonate, echoing with the power of her past choices, the friendships she had nurtured, and the love she cherished above all. No. You do not have claim over me. With that affirmation, she thrust her hands forward, pouring all her light and all her love into a blinding beam targeting the heart of darkness. As the beam shot forward, the shadows writhed violently, their forms twisting. An enraged screech filled the chamber, rattling her bones. The light collided head-on, a shockwave rumbling between them, but in a cacophony of chaos, something unexpected happened, a flicker in the shadow's core, a momentary glimmer of familiarity amidst the torment. It was a face, another memory entangled in the depths of despair. Join me, it beckoned, its tone changing. Let us reclaim what was lost. Confusion twisted like a knife deep in her soul. Was this an offer of salvation or a trap disguised as compassion? The path ahead grew shrouded in mist as she weighed her choices. As the shadows loomed ever closer, her heart pounded with uncertainty. Could she truly escape the entanglement of her past? Or was destiny leading her to a fate more troubling than she could have imagined? Choices echoed through her, tainted yet seductive, beckoning her down paths untaken. What swirled in the depths of the darkness? Would she find salvation or lose herself forever? The air grew thick with tension. What secrets lay hidden in the shadows, and would she dare to confront them? The shadows convulsed, twisting like serpents, and the familiar face floated closer, its features locked in a mournful gaze. Panic clawed at her throat. Was this truly an echo of a lost friend or merely a figment of her fractured mind? Doubt surged inside her as the whispers intensified, wrapping around her thoughts like tightening ropes. Join me. The voice beckoned again, smooth and enticing. Together, we can finally be free. Embrace what was lost and reshape our destiny. Every heartbeat pulsed with conflict. Memories flooded in, drowning her in sweet nostalgia. A shared laugh at the park, late-night secrets, an unbreakable bond that had once given her strength. Yet the darkness that engulfed her now threatened to suffocate that bond. No. She shouted against the clamoring cacophony. You're not real. You're just a shadow, an echo of the pain. Her hands trembled, caught between wanting to reach out and wanting to resist. The familiar figure only smiled, an otherworldly reassurance twisted with something darker. Shut out the light, and you may find clarity, existence beyond this endless conflict. But it wasn't clarity she sought, it was peace. She summoned the luminescent figure beside her, its presence igniting determination within her heart. We are the light. She cried. You cannot bend us to your will. Around her, the battle intensified. The darkened forms shifted, growing choppy and erratic, almost as if they felt the pulse of her growing strength. The figure in the shadows hung in the air, pleading, this fight will only break you further. Embrace your darkness, together we can have it all. The realization struck like a bolt of lightning. This wasn't just her past trying to pull her back, it was a manifestation of her worst fears. The illusion of comfort cloaked in sorrow. She clenched her fists, feeling the electric energy of the luminescent figure wrapping around her like a fierce wind. Fear is a cold prison, the radiant figure whispered, but love is your key. What if I fail? She stammered, her voice trembling as the shadows lunged closer, the weight of her doubt forcing her backward. What if you fly instead? The answer ignited something deep within her spirit. A rush of adrenaline flooded her veins, mingling with defiance. A step forward became a leap, every ounce of pain from her past transforming into fuel for this moment. Remember every laugh, every joy. Bring back the light they deserve. The radiant figure's voice resonated through the turmoil. Fueled by determination, she fused her revelations into a singular force, her heart pounding in unison with the pulse of light roaring around her. She thrust her palms outward, pouring everything she had into the blinding beam that pierced the oppressive darkness, aiming for the flickering visage of familiarity. The shadowy figure shrieked in frustration, contorting as the light surged ahead, a tidal wave of brilliance crashing down. It met the fragments of the past, illuminating the suffocating grief and transforming it. As the shadows fragmented, fading into shimmering dust, the pleading face dissolved. But in its place, a new figure emerged, one that twisted truth and hope together, the visage of her friend, radiant yet solemn. Remember me. You are never alone. Her breath hitched, a mix of sorrow and strength overtaking her. Would she let this memory guide her or allow the pain to suffocate her anew? The air thickened as uncertainty gripped her heart once more. A single flick of darkness lingered, waiting to be permanently cast aside. What awaited her in the depths of her own soul? Could she confront the darkest corners of her identity and reclaim the light, or would the shadows pull her back into the abyss? Just ahead, a new path formed, and she felt the whisper of challenge beckoning her forward. What awaited her at the crossroads of despair and self-acceptance? Would she have the strength to step into the unknown? The answers hovered just beyond her grasp. A sudden stillness enveloped the chamber as the shadows receded. The woman stood resolute, heart pounding in her chest. She felt the remnants of darkness swirling, but they lacked their former ferocity. The figure of her friend, bright yet pained, gazed at her with knowing eyes, as if reflecting her own doubts back at her. Remember me, the figure whispered. It was a plea, an echo of all they had shared. The memories danced around her. The laughter, the moments of joy, every shred of connection sprinkled with bittersweet ache. The shadows had tried to erase the light, but with her rising strength, they faltered. Wherever darkness threads its way, I will find you, she vowed, channeling strength with renewed determination. You're part of me, and together, we will illuminate this haunted past. Her words swelled into a powerful declaration, reverberating through the remnants of the darkness. She sidestepped her fears, no longer fighting merely against, but embracing all that comprised her: the love, the loss, every ounce of betrayal bound to the legacy of the disciples. They, too, offered her a poignant truth: healing required more than release, it required acceptance. As she reached deeper into herself, the light pulsing around her grew brighter, transforming shadows scattered throughout the chamber into shimmering mist. The whispers of the disciples echoed back to her loud and clear, a warning of both hope and consequence. Together we rise, together we fall, they intoned. She closed her eyes, letting the warmth wash over her completely. Together we forge our fate. She cried, her voice filling every crevice. An incredible surge surged through her, radiating from her core like a sun unleashed. The chamber sparkled, illuminated by hope and defiance. The shadowy figure shrieked and twisted, fighting against the overwhelming purity of her light, but it was like a dam breaking. Each flash of memories brought forth power. Each flicker pulled the darkness apart, unraveling the fabric of despair. Around her, the fractured essence of the disciples oscillated, a whirlwind of regret and longing, but she held steadfast as she became their conduit. You don't have to be trapped. We can rise from this abyss together. The chamber shook, dust cascading down in thick swathes, as the shadows merged with the brilliance of her burgeoning truth. They began to transform, taking on shapes that represented old regrets healed by acceptance. A familiar laugh echoed through the air, and she felt the presence of those lost to shadows step forward, joining her in the light. In that moment, she understood, this was more than confrontation. It was a reunion with everything she had feared losing. Each flicker awakened a fragment of love, stitching them all back together in a cohesive thread unbreakable by past choices or mistakes. Let us all be free, she pleaded, her voice a clarion call, echoing to every icy corner where shadows lurked. Let the light guide us home. With a surge of irrevocable commitment, she embraced the remarkable collective of souls that united at her side. The light expanded in an explosion of luminous energy, pouring through every cranny like daylight streaming through the clouds that opened above. And just like that, the last of the shadows screamed in a cacophony of despair, dissipating under the weight of truth, washed away by the tide of enlightenment. As the dust settled, the keeper of secrets appeared, his austere expression now softened with respect. Well done, he said, voice rich with gravitas. You faced your darkness and emerged with a strength that speaks of true endurance. She looked around, absorbing the transformed surroundings. The remnants of the church shimmered anew, vivid and bright, rekindled in warmth and hope. The figures she once saw plagued by shadows stood alongside her, their eyes shimmering with gratitude. The sense of freedom washed over her, like raindrops kissing sun-scorched earth, a long-awaited embrace of illumination. This is only the beginning, she addressed the remnants of the disciples, her voice ringing with power. No chains can bind you when we erase the remnants of shame. Together, we will carry our truths into the light. They nodded, a chorus of acceptance reverberating throughout the chamber. This was not just a new path for her, it was a rebirth for all they had carried. With one last glance at the ancient congregation, she knew they would not fade. Instead, they would continue to be part of the stories spun through life, collection of lessons and legacies, forever intertwined with light and shadow. Her heart swelled. Regret held no sway over her any longer. Let us walk into our tomorrow with hope, she declared, leading the way into the illuminated world beyond, and as they stepped out, shadows withered, fading into nothingness, replaced by the promise of dawn, a reminder that darkness would never conquer, because each new day held the potential for renewal and strength. With one final breath, the woman whispered to the echoes in her heart, we are more than our pasts. We are the light. The world stretched wide open before them, full of endless possibilities. As the horizon lit up with warmth, she turned back to the human faces flickering in the rising sun. Remember your stories, your struggles, they define you in ways you may never fully understand. And with that, She felt the tendrils of a new destiny unfurling, waiting to be painted in colors richer than shadows had ever offered. Who among us will share their tale? She invited, and in the faces of the gathered souls, she saw the spark to rewrite history. Together, this unfurling of life awaited them, opening a world teeming with hope, compassion, and connection, a beautiful testament to the power of the human spirit. Now is your moment. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-blowing ending. And make sure to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to be part of this community, and every action helps it grow stronger.